I want to ask you something first.
All right.
All right. And this just, again, we try and be, talk about everything draft related with all teams, but with a little focus sometimes on what the Dallas Cowboys are doing. And I want to ask you a philosophy question. And I hope this will pique your interest.
Okay.
Cowboys signed Kobe Durant, a cornerback from the Los Angeles Rams. And Durant is he started 39 of 61 games from 4 years. I want to ask you this question, Aisha. Kobe Durant is 5'11", 181 pounds.
Let's see where you're going.
Is there a change in philosophy from what we've seen from Will McClay in the past, some of the defensive coordinators in the past? Are we seeing Christian Parker say, you know what, I'm okay with the smaller corner? And are there smaller corners on your board that maybe you were thinking about, maybe not for the Cowboys, but now all of a sudden they're back in play?
That's such a good two-part question. I'm so excited. Okay, so, well, first of all, shout out to the small corners and the small humans in the world. But to answer your question, first of all, I think this is one of the best signings of the free agency so far.
I like what they did here.
I like what they did here as well, especially with Dallas. We've been talking about, some of the signings they've had, thinking you still needed a boundary guy or somebody that could do some things on the boundary. When you talk about the nickel spot or talk about a Kobe Turner, I think a lot of bringing him in also too.
Kobe Durant.
Is temperament.
Yeah.
I think that's the difference. And when you heard Christian Parker speak, when we've heard him talk at the Combine, he had the opportunity to talk to you guys.
Yeah.
He cares about skill. He cares about your mind, and he cares about your attitude. Kobe Durant brings that temperament that you want. Dallas did not take the ball away a lot last year.
Not at all.
I think that they want a couple guys out there that are going to be willing to put their bodies on the line. But to go back further into your question, we saw this with Dan Quinn.
Yeah.
Where Dallas played a lot of nickel. Dallas played a lot of nickel with their safeties. Also, too, Jordan Lewis, who had been pushed to the side multiple times with other regimes.
Yeah.
Because that nickel was so important, we got to see Jordan Lewis thrive in that system. So I think that there was a philosophy difference for a little bit with Dan Quinn, and we saw some of the smaller corners, and Jordan Lewis get a chance. But then, he had some changes and
Mike
stuff
Zimmer.
Like that. Maybe they are going back to that.
Yeah.
And I think the reason why they're going back to that is because it is not to this coaching staff, this defensive coaching staff. I don't think that they're so worried about size. What can that player freaking do?
Okay.
What can they do? And to finish off answering your question, because I had a question for you.
Yeah.
What would Dallas do with this third-round pick that they have newly acquired?
Yeah.
I personally think that the corner position has more value there with guys. So you think about a D'Angelo Pons.
Yeah.
Is he off the table now with them liking that feistier, smaller guy? I think also, too, like an Everett out of Georgia who isn't small, but he's not, super lengthy and stuff. Can he be somebody that they're interested in as well in the third round?
Rivers we talked about, too, from Duke as well. Yeah.
Rivers as well. Those guys, I think now, if you think you're seeing a philosophy change, might fit, and you got that third round pick, I really want to start looking at, if Dallas doesn't go corner early, can they supplement with what they've done already in that third round? What you think?
Yeah, see, this is where, to me, I'd go after Jonathan Grenard from Minnesota. Me and Vaj had this discussion today. We had this morning before you and I are doing our show. I had this discussion. Listen, if you told me I could go and take that pick and go move it and do something, I'm going to get Jonathan Grenard, the edge from the Minnesota Vikings.
You're fighting with Philly, because I've heard on the back end that they have been pursuing him as well.
And you should be absolutely in the middle of all this.
Yeah.
And so that's what I would do with the particular pick. I also, though, and I ask you this question because I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall when Will McClay and the defensive coordinator had a discussion about the smaller players, because this is something not in Will McClay's wheelhouse. He's not. I mean, he's always been about length. He's always been about size. It's always been about, well, this is a big man's game. In a lot of ways, he's not wrong. But what happens? See, this is what folks out there that follow us on a daily basis need to realize. That these coaches do have a big influence in how this team is built. And you look at the way, and you look at some of the issues that they've had with the drafts. Not so many picks missed on the offensive side of the ball, the defensive side of the ball, but where's been the biggest turnover? It's been on the defensive side of the ball. Different coordinators, different position coaches. That leads for kind of a team that looks a little wonky on defense. And I kind of feel like, though, to me, this, once again, is you have a coach. And I think you made a great point. I think Christian Parker's coming in here with the attitude of, listen, I want guys that can play. I want guys that can line up and go and get the football. I want guys that can cover. I want guys that can tackle. And I don't care if they're 5'11" or 6'11". I want guys that can absolutely do that. And I think that's where they're at right now. And this is going to be a fundamental shift for Will McClay in how he thinks about building a team. And maybe if Will McClay was the general manager of this team, there would not be that. You wouldn't see. But now he's having to do things in order by the direction of the Joneses. And Will wants to be able to, they're really big on consensus. They're really big. Sometimes consensus is great, except when your consensus is wrong. When all of a sudden you're wrong about Junior Fehoko. You're wrong, about, Mozzie Smith. You're wrong about Tristan Hill. They've been right too. They've been right. Bland was a right. I think there's been some rights. But this is a team right now that is going through I believe, a little bit of a philosophy change. And it's going to be, how is Will McClay going to be able to, and here's a guy, it's going to be really, really hard for him. He likes a certain, and the one thing that Will knows about, he knows how to win this division. He's done it before. He knows who plays at the Philadelphia Eagles. He knows who plays at the New York Giants. He knows who plays at the Washington Commanders. These are all things that he knows. He knows he's proven that he could go get the T-shirt and the hat. He's proven that. He could do that. But now I wonder if we're going to see a big philosophy change. And you're right about Jordan Lewis. Jordan Lewis outlasted, there were guys that were not, Rod Marinelli's, even though Rod Marinelli played with a Rondé Barber, he's still like, well, I don't know about the small corner guy. I don't know about that small corner guy. Jordan Lewis outlasted them all.
Yeah.
And to the point where Jerry Jones regretted saying, hey, we should have paid Jordan Lewis.
Yeah, and you're chasing that a little bit.
You're chasing that right now.
But to your point, what came to my mind is, you ended up paying, it sounds like the deal is for 1 year with Kobe Durant, up to 5.5.
Yeah.
When you talk about a philosophy difference maybe coming in mind, I thought Dallas would kick the tires on Deshaun right after the year he had last year.
Sure.
Maybe bring him back because you needed a boundary corner. He's not going to be this expensive. Pro Bowler, all-pro year, took the ball away at a high clip, came and helped in the run a lot. He showed a lot of improved in Chicago.
Sure did.
I thought Dallas maybe would bring him in for a cup of coffee. They ended up bringing in a guy like Kobe Turner. Deals are not that different. I wonder, that to me made
that's something I think you have to absolutely think about. That to me, maybe it was to the point where Will McClay and the scouts and the pro guys in that department just said, you know what, we know what right is as a player. And
very possible. And I also feel like we're at a point as well where they're having to fill these needs, but it's not just what can the guy do? You also need gentlemen that can communicate on the back end, that can, do what you need to do. And I also want to say, with this defensive change that we're talking about, maybe going into more 3-4, nickel base, stuff like that, what I expect to see on film if this team is working the way it's supposed to be, baby, when the ball is snapped, everybody should be stepping in the right direction.
Sure.
Because it is going to be, I think on the back end, there's going to be some disguising. But on the front end, guys really have to be in sync and funneling. I think this scheme is going to require a lot of funneling and understanding, especially up front, and understanding, what your assignment is and spacing as well, which brings me to my next point. When you talk about length not being on the secondary side, I do think that Christian Parker values length at the second level, though.
Right.
Some of those linebackers, I think he wants his linebackers to take up space, be able to eat up space. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I think to me, when the front end, what you're talking about there is, though, you clearly have an idea of what you want to do with Rashawn Gary.
Tracking, absolutely.
If you watch Gary play, and if you're on all our platforms, whether it's Aisha here or DallasCowboys.com, myself, Voch Lombardi, Zach Wolchuk, 105.3 The Fan. The one thing that we've kind of talked about is that Rashawn Gary is a really good run defender.
Yeah.
And that's something I think is important. I say this is very similar to having Tank Lawrence back. A younger version of Tank Lawrence is what I see with Rashawn Gary.
Yeah.
Now you've got the other side of things, and this is where I'm trying to just will them to go get a pass rusher. That was the thing I thought was one of the biggest problems last year of this defense. You obviously said we're not going to do anything. We've had enough of Micah Parsons.
Mm-hmm.
Jerry got mad at Micah Parsons, and you got rid of him. But they didn't have a plan.
Not a guy that could win quick.
I thought that maybe Donovan Ezerako could be that guy.
Mm-hmm.
But you and I went to training camp.
Mm-hmm.
How many times did we see the edge rushers and stuff winning? Maybe where we should have had the questions were, what's going on offensive tackle?
Fair. And it took longer. It did take longer, like even for Donovan Ezerako.
Yeah.
As camp went on.
Yeah.
I thought I saw him improve and things like that. But I also, too, Dallas is, I'm not mad about some of the overcorrection, but I do think that they really don't want to get run on so bad.
Yeah.
That even bringing in Tyrus Wheat.
Yeah.
Even when he was here, I remember you talking about him.
Sure.
You thought that he did have some skill. He had some feel for the run.
Right.
They brought him back in. So you got another, again, you're talking about this defensive line.
Yeah.
You got a lot of run-stopping defensive linemen, even Otito.
Yeah.
You brought in. Not a pass rusher type of guy, really.
Right.
Probably not going to give you much there, but is a bulldozer in the run. Are they overcorrecting it? And where's this speed rusher going to be? Are they overcorrecting it? Where's the speed rusher?
That's what we got to figure out. We've got to figure out how this is going to play on the edge. And is it going to be as – I think when you start to look at things for the Cowboys, and correct me if I'm wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at this right now as, I thought initially I'm like, okay, linebacker, edge, corner.
Yeah.
How they were – this is before they'd signed Durant. Okay, Durant, I think the corner – I still think they need a corner.
Tracking.
Listen, let's not fool ourselves.
No, still needs to go draft.
Let's not sit here and say, oh no, everything's cool. You said it. 1 year, $5.5 million. Let's be real here. Let's not just say, okay, this is going to take us out of the corner market.
Well, I don't think that Dallas feels like that anyway.
Not at all.
They feel like they still need to. They're meeting with corners as well. Toledo, DB, Andre Fuller, somebody like they're gonna.
Yeah. But to me, I think this whole thing is going to come down to, I think at 12, it's got to be edge, doesn't it?
It's feeling like an edge, or it's feeling like a line. It's feeling like an edge.
But do you feel good enough about? Do you feel good enough if it's not the name of a? Just throwing names, the top names: Reese, Ohio State; Bain from Miami; Bailey from Texas Tech. You feeling if it's not one of those guys? Do you have linebackers lined up? Do you have some linebackers lined up?
Yeah.
Do you feel good about? Is it Styles?
Allen.
Or Allen? Would you consider Allen at 12?
Yeah. And that's the bigger conversation because
Yeah.
I feel like you've been pushing us information. We've
Sure.
been talking about this linebacker thing. They have played their hand. They have tried to get into the linebacker conversation, with free agency. But they've also said, we don't think this guy fits.
Yeah.
We don't think this guy's smart enough to work the board. It just is what it is. Guys have chosen other places, but where they're at, I wonder if they think that there's Schlesinger?
Yeah.
That can come in, because I'm opposed to a young guy coming in and having to take the mantle of the Mike.
Okay, talk about that, because that's something you've been tweeting about a lot. But you've been on Twitter talking about that quite a bit.
I think
it's asking too much, is it?
I personally think it is asking a lot, especially given that you are flipping this defense. I mean, you're totally flipping this defense. You're going into this window like you gentlemen are talking about, is where you're trying to win a championship. Is it going to be cheaper? Sure. Is there a guy that probably can do it? I think a C.J. Allen can do it.
Sure.
I think he's smart enough to handle the checks, the calls, and all that stuff. But that position also is a leadership position.
Yeah.
I think guys can take it. We just talked. Schlesinger to me had almost an all-pro year as a rook.
Yeah.
And saw everything. It's possible. But I do think in football at this point in time, we are valuing development, and the linebacker position is one of those positions that I think, and I know from talking to people, is so intricate, and how football has changed.
Yeah.
With the motions, the shifts, football's different now. Yeah. And that's why, and so it upsets me, but maybe Dallas feels that confident about one of these rookies they met with.
Yeah.
That they're like, if he's there, he has what it takes.
Yeah.
And I'm like, as mad as it pisses me off, maybe that's how they feel. Because what if they don't touch linebacker in free agency? What are we gonna do?
Yeah.
What if they don't touch it? Yeah. What happens then to you?
Yeah. See, that's the thing about it is I think we're to the point now.
I'm about to cry, Brian.
I think we're to the point where the linebacker that they get is going to have to be from the draft.
And if they do bring another guy in here, is it maybe? I don't know who's a gentleman. I thought I saw somebody mention not a Wags. Did he already sign the gentleman from, was it Washington? No, it was a different guy.
Bobby Carriquet?
Yes. Did he already sign?
No, did not. I don't think he did.
So
as we tape, I mean, I might be completely wrong about this.
You have to bridge. You have to have a bridge guy still.
Yeah.
Do you have any guys in mind that are still out there that could be a bridge guy at the very?
I'm drafting. I'm drafting.
You're just gonna draft and
I'm just gonna draft.
Okay.
I'm gonna draft.
Okay.
That's me.
That's kind of where I feel
that's
like
me.
I'm not.
You know what? I'm gonna go try and get better.
Barnacles.
You see, I'm okay. Let me ask you this.
Mm-hmm.
If it's not an edge, and we're here talking about linebackers.
Mm-hmm.
But what if it's one of those corners, though, too? See, that's what I'm saying. Do you feel... This is where you could get in trouble drafting. If you feel like that, the linebackers aren't going to be there at 20.
I will say...
Now, the linebackers that could be there, I mean, it could be Rodriguez from Texas Tech, who we all have a lot of thoughts. Wolchuk, our colleague, has more thoughts there.
He's moved up your board that much. He's a 1 to you.
No.
I don't look at Rodriguez as a 1.
I don't
Love
either.
you, Wooly.
Yeah.
He ain't here.
Yeah.
In remembrance of you.
Yeah.
I don't look at Rodriguez as a 1.
Yeah, I don't either.
I would take Anthony Hill over him at like a...
I'm the guy that would take Hill over Allen.
Oh God, don't make me nervous. And I'm a Allen guy.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a Hill guy. I think that his explosiveness, see him and DeMarvion Overshown take up space with their length and their speed, I think could be an issue. But I'm not as high on Rodriguez as I think. As much.
There are a lot of folks that think he's going to get picked late 1.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe, and that's fine. But I
got him in the second round.
That's not in my ministry. That's not in my spirit. I got him in the second too, early second, but not in the first.
Yeah. See, to me, as much as you and I are talking about linebacker right now, we might take one of those corners before we take one of those linebackers. If you're the Cowboys.
When we've heard that, I do think that how interested do you even think that they would be interested in McCoy? Because I think he's going to fall. Sorry. I think he's going to fall, despite the fact that he's going to work. I know he's going to work out soon.
That might be the new philosophy now. They're talking about, hey, we're not going to take hurt guys. Look what they did in free agency. It's Hendrickson from it's now with the Ravens. They were not interested in paying him. They were out on that one. They never jumped in there. Now we'll see what happens with Max Crosby. We'll see what happens. But the fact that their team doctor was involved in saying, I wouldn't do that. So maybe, and then, Jerry Jones, at the Combine was talking about it on the bus. We don't have time for rehab players.
Well,
we don't have time for those guys anymore. So that makes me wonder.